The deadlift is a foundational movement pattern that builds your glutes, hamstrings, and lower back and prepares you for all kinds of movements you do in life. Deadlifting with a kettlebell has some unique advantages over a barbell or other implement. Hi, I'm Shane Heins, Director of Fitness Education for Onnit, and I'm going to show you numerous ways to maximize your kettlebell to get the most out of your deadlifts. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more. The deadlift itself is a hinge movement where we fold over at the hips to pick objects up from down below. Doing it with a kettlebell provides a little bit more options than what we're used to doing with a barbell, like accessibility. Depending on your level of fitness, experience, and available space to train, a kettlebell gives you a great option to utilize. Variability. Providing numerous options for body positions and grip orientations lets you challenge yourself in a greater variety of ways. Relatability. It's much more closely related to the types of objects you'll deadlift and how you deadlift them in your day-to-day life. The single leg kettlebell deadlift is great to improve balance in movement as well as improve imbalances in your physiological structure. Despite outward appearances, we are quite asymmetrical in how we move through this world. Greater harmony between the sides helps decrease our chances of being sidelined or injured. For a full, in-depth tutorial on how to do the single leg kettlebell deadlift and all of its benefits, check out this video right here. We spend so much time sitting that many of us lose access to strong, flexible hamstrings. The Romanian deadlift is a great exercise to bring them back up to speed and ensure they are in good working order. Step 1. You're going to have your feet hip distance apart, and with broad shoulders, a proud chest, and ribs down, you're going to create a preparation for folding over at the hips, soft bend in the knees. Step 2, you're then going to fold in a high hinge. There's going to be little bend in the knees, and you're going to make sure that your shoulders do not drop below your hips. With a nice long spine, you're going to reach down and grab the kettlebell. Step 3, you're going to drive your feet through the earth as you extend the hips, coming up to full upright position. The kettlebell sumo deadlift is a great option if you don't have access to more flexible hamstrings yet or want to work with heavier weight. You're going to be in a wider stance, and that's going to work not only your glutes and hamstrings, but really get at those adductors as well. Step 1, you're going to take your feet out wider than shoulder width apart. You're going to have your feet at 45-degree angles, ensuring that your knees will track your toes. You're going to have proud chest, nice broad shoulders, thinking about reaching down with your hands. This hinge is a little more upright. Step 2, you're going to then hinge down in the hips, but maintain a more upright torso as you grab a hold of the kettlebell. Step 3, you're going to drive your feet through the earth as you pull through the crown of your head up, hips at full extension into upright position. The kettlebell suitcase deadlift is one-handed, and as such we have weight on one side, which, on top of working all of the muscles in our legs, starts to tap into that corset of core musculature, our transverse abdominis, from hip up to shoulder, while also challenging your grip because you're only in a single hand. Before we get started, you're going to have the kettlebell set up beside you on one side like a suitcase that you're going to pick up off of the ground, hence the name. Step 1, you're going to have feet hip distance apart. It's a little bit narrower, and from here, broad shoulders, proud chest, but keep those ribs connected to hips. Don't let them flare. Keep them down. From there, you then prepare to lift your suitcase kettlebell. Step 2, you're going to hinge at the hips with a soft bend in the knees as you draw the hands down. You want to watch that we don't overly flex through the torso, maintaining nice long spine from crown to tailbone. Step 3, you're going to grab a hold of the kettlebell and you're going to brace in your core so that you're working on lifting with evenness as you drive your feet through the earth and extend the hips to full upright position. Because the kettlebell is pulling over to one side, avoid twisting and bending through this movement as you create greater stability through your core. Double kettlebell deadlift is a great variation that increases the load on your overall body while challenging your grip in either hand and forcing you to have to stabilize through your spine and your core, while of course maximizing work on those legs. This will help add a little bit more work to strengthening that back as well, lower, middle, and upper. In the setup, you're going to have your feet between hip and shoulder width apart to make a little bit more room for the two kettlebells. Step 1, proud chest, strong shoulders, make sure the back is engaged as you're ready to go. You're going to have a soft bend in your knees, and we're going to think nice long spine to support the added load of the two kettlebells. Step 2, hinge through the hips while working your way down to getting to the two kettlebells. Make sure that you're sitting back in your glutes for strong hamstring and glute engagement. Pull those shoulders back to engage the upper back muscles. Step 3, you're gonna drive those feet through the earth and push those hips forward, getting up nice and tall to full upright position. And a last extra note, now that you've got the double weight, as you're going back down, don't think bend over, think sit back. Oftentimes it's easy to fall into the trap of, I see the movement being done this way, and this is the only way I can ever do it, ever, ever, ever. When the reality is, we're making the greatest benefit out of the deadlifting we're doing, utilizing a tool that lets us do more. So we're just gonna look at a couple of really quick variations that you can apply to any of the deadlifts I've just shown you. For one, double kettlebell. You can do this with a single leg. You can do this with your sumo. You can also work on single leg variations. We had the suitcase deadlift. You could even do let's say a sumo deadlift down in the middle with a single kettlebell. You've got additional rotation through your spine that you're working to stabilize against. If you don't have the flexibility in your hamstrings or the range of motion in your hips yet, you can also just think about, what are the levels that I'm deadlifting to? So I can have a kettlebell and I can deadlift to a surface that isn't quite the ground. I'd rather see you work with the form that I've laid out to ensure that you're getting the greatest benefit out of the deadlift in a healthy, longevity-oriented way that serves your performance, rather than getting hurt trying to force an end goal that you may not be at. And that's okay. Work on these variations, look at all the deadlifts that I've shared with you, and think about different ways that you can continue to challenge to improve your overall strength, your overall mobility, and a greater balance between the physiological structures of the muscles in your lower body, your upper body, working together to work for you in your day-to-day. Sometimes you don't feel focused and alert in the gym, and your workout can suffer as a result. New Alpha Brain Pre-Workout was designed specifically for athletes and gym goers and supports focus, power, and endurance. It's the ultimate way to charge up your mind and body. Use the coupon code GETONNIT to get 10% off Alpha Brain Pre-Workout at onnit.com. Now, let's get back to deadlifting. Now, I've just gone through a whole bunch of deadlift variations for you that you can incorporate. Don't think you have to do them all at the same time or that they only fit in one particular category. They're actually very versatile, and it's how you use it, which I'm going to talk about right now. Deadlifts, which are often mostly associated with strength workouts, can be a part of your main strength component that you're working on. A couple examples would be doing the double kettlebell deadlift or the sumo deadlift, which lets you do more weight when you're working with it. You can also go into something that is more circuit style, conditioning, muscular endurance that you're working with. And this is one of the great benefits of doing it with the kettlebell, because you can notch back the weight that you're working with to let you access that element of training. So you could work your Romanian deadlift into a circuit, working at a bit of a lighter weight, a bit of a faster tempo. You could also utilize your Sumo deadlift and do that with lighter weight rather than heavier weight, and that focus is on range of motion and really opening up through your hips and adductors. Getting that cycling through a circuit is a great way to improve those elements of structural balance. And then, of course, there's your supplemental work or specific work when you're thinking about athletic performance, when you're thinking about improving muscular imbalances and ensuring that you have strong structural stability. Working with a single leg kettlebell deadlift or your Suitcase kettlebell deadlift, where you've got an offset load forcing you to have to pull it all together. Great way to access that. It doesn't need to be super high repetitions, and neither does it need to be really heavy. The key is to think of it as practice. And when you think of it as practice, work with a weight that allows you to hold structural form and integrity and do it with the utmost beauty, and you will ensure that everything else inside is working just as nice. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Also, click the link in the description below for a full article to the best kettlebell deadlift exercises for your workouts.